So, hello everybody. Can you hear me well? Right? Yeah? People raised their hands, so I'm guessing you can hear me. So my name is Rein Zobel. I'm a creative director from EEVR Productions, doing VR stuff for 4 years. And for today's first talk, I'm going to talk to you about this the most epic VR project ever made, because it's literally about the national epic of Estonia, Kalev, the son of Kalev. And it was definitely a biggest project and most difficult project for us so far, and I think it really pays off. So I want to tell you a little bit about this project and how it was made, and then kind of the lessons that we learned, but also just in general, just to give people idea like what kind of stuff is being done in Estonia. Just a quick background. I don't actually have that much time, so I can't go that in depth. But I'll tell you a little bit about the project and a little bit about who we are and what we do. So I'm Rein. I'm like I said, I'm creative director from EEVR. Before that, I was in video industry doing commercials and short films and stuff like this. And I'm also a hobby game journalist. I'm co-hosting Estonia's longest running podcast ever, which is Puhata ja mängida. It's a podcast about video games. Also, I lecture in Tallinn University about virtual reality, and I'm a member of the board of the new EEVR. And our company, EEVR Productions, is founded in 2016. And so far we have done over 30 VR projects for different kind of clients like education, public sector, tourism, youth organizations. And these have often been mixtures of different kind of interactivities and different kind of applications. And right now we are focusing mostly on fully 3D developed VR experiences. So, next slide. To give you a brief overview about the project and who was involved, I was the creative director and producer. Lilith Palmer here was the producer. Ats Kurvet was the main developer. I don't think Ats is here today. Oh, you are. Hey, there's Ats. And Tanel Kadalip was the sound director of the project. Tanel just last year he got an award from Estonian Film Awards that he's the best sound director of 2020 for his work in the film the Vanamehe film, the old man's movie. So he was the sound director for that and got an award. And the client for this project was Kalevipoja Koda, which is a totally renovated museum. It's in southern Estonia and not far from Jõgeva. From Tartu, I think it's like 20-30 minutes drive. So the place is Käpa, and there's this big museum about our national epic, about art and mythology and the background about it. And as like a final part of this museum, there's this virtual reality experience called The Son of Kalev's Journey to Hell, which is the one that I've been talking about. So, next slide. The task. So it's basically location-based VR because it's you can watch it from only these specific locations. It's not available anywhere online. It was originally supposed to brief. The original brief was that it's an interactive 360 video experience. So like a 360 video where you can fight monsters and do stuff like that. And we just said that that's not going to work. You can't do 360 video like this. I mean, you can do 360 videos for some stuff, but if you want a lot of interactivity and kind of physical manifestation of your body, then 360 video is just not going to work. So just straight up, we pitched that we're going to do it fully 3D, and we managed to convince the client. The difficult part about experiences like this is that they have to be playable by everybody. So it means that if you have a small kid or you know, like somebody's grandma coming in and wanting to try this, they have to be able to play this and pick this up and kind of see what it's all about, and not worry too much about the controls and the headset and all this. So, but at the same time, when somebody comes in who has played like tens of thousands of hours of video games and knows everything about them, it has to be exciting for them also. We didn't want to be just like, oh, virtual reality is cool, put it on and now everything works kind of experience. So we really designed around this, that it's playable and engaging for everybody. And it was supposed to be about 10 minutes long. I think the actual thing was maybe like 10 to 15 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, but it's still a very short time to kind of shove the whole national epic into it, which, if you have seen, it's a very big book. And so there was a lot of challenges with the original task. So this is what we proposed. Next slide. We agreed upon a PC-based VR experience. It's made it in Unreal Engine because that's what he's most fluent in. And it's playable with Valve Index headsets. So right now in this museum, there are, I think there's 7 Valve Index headsets. So 5 have like their separate areas and 2 are separate for a passive mode. I'll talk a little bit longer about that. So anyways, if you don't know, Valve Index is a very high-end headset, like the most expensive headset in the consumer area. So we went for a very high fidelity. The Valve Index controllers also have finger tracking, so they have motion controllers, so you can see your hands and interact with your hands. And of course, Kalev is this basically like Estonian Hercules, so that he's a very big and strong guy, and when you just see your hands in VR like you do in Altspace right now, then they are these big strong hands, and you can imagine what you can do with those hands. So this hand-to-hand interaction and being able to like break trees and smash stuff was important to the experience. We decided that there's no locomotion, so it means that there's no button to teleport, or you can't walk around with the joystick, because that's very confusing to people and it can make some people sick. So we wanted to be very approachable. So the story is told by changing scenes, which change when some time passes or you do some specific action, and then you go to the next scenes. And some of the scenes are first person, meaning that you are Kalev and you can interact with everything. And some scenes are third person, where it's sort of like this Kalev is this small miniature walking around, doing stuff, smashing stuff. And so you can tell, since it's a story about the journey, there has to be some movement to it, and these third person episodes kind of give it movement and show that, you know, Kalev is walking down a cave or going from this place to the other. So to give the whole motion and movement and to the journey side of the experience. And what players are doing, the interaction, some of them are more action-sided, like fight a bunch of monsters on a bridge, and some of them are puzzles. Like, for example, there's this one episode where there are 2 potions. One makes you larger, one makes you smaller, and you have to drink those to make yourself big, and then switch them around so that when the devil comes, he will drink from the wrong cup. So a mixture of puzzle and action. And additionally, the client wanted this easy mode, which is a non-interactive mode, so that when people who are physically ill or very old or just don't want to move, or they might have some other problems, that they can still experience the whole adventure. So this is like the separate version where the whole experience is from the third person narrative. So even in these action scenes, you see Kalev as this miniature doing this stuff, and it was actually a lot more cooler than we expected. It's like we kind of made a movie as a side project. Next slide. So to give you a little bit of idea of the scope, these were the scenes where it takes place. First, the Kalev wakes up in a forest, interacts with stuff, and then he goes through a cave to hell. Before hell, there's this iron bridge across lava. Then he reaches the gate of hell and smashes it. Then he goes to the courtyard of the devil and fights the devil. Then he will fly away into space. Then he will appear from the bottom of the lake and swim to the surface. Then he makes camp in the forest. And in the end, there's this epilogue where Kalev is eternally locked in this ruins of the Hellgate. So quite a lot of scenes. Next slide. You see there's also a lot of different interactivities, breaking trees, making fire, slicing and cooking cabbages, ringing a magic bell, fighting monsters, drinking and switching potions, fist fighting the devil, slamming the devil on the ground, putting on the magic flat, flying around. So yeah, since Eitz made all the environments, all their interactions, Eitz had a lot of work on his hands. So a little bit about the creative side. Son of Kalev is a really exciting piece of work or a mythology to work in for me as a creative director, because there's just so much stuff to get inspired from. Kalev is really one of the most important literary works in Estonia, and there are a lot of different artists and painters who have expressed themselves and found their personal style by drawing paintings about Kalev's mythological journey, and these were very welcome as visual references. There's also, as you can see, this black and white image. There was once a ballet, like 80 years ago, maybe a little bit less, about Kalev. There are cartoons, which are the Zobel cartoons, which are not exactly about Kalev, but something similar. And also, of course, we took inspiration from popular media, like you can see He-Man over there in a heroic pose. So there was a lot of work to find the style and the color palette and the design of the characters, and that was really fun. So here you can see a bunch of concept art. Before we started 3D modeling, we had a lot of concepts about Kalev himself, who was important, but not as important, because mostly it's first person. So you don't see the body of Kalev except for the third person scenes. But one of the most important characters was the old devil. And I wanted to create this kind of a contrast where Kalev is has this white and blue and Estonian colors, and he's very symmetrical and kind of clean and disciplined looking. And in contrast, the old devil is sort of a chaotic and sloppy and kind of beast-like creature. So that they are actually kind of like these two giants who are clashing, but to also create this good versus evil kind of look. And we had a bunch of 3D objects which were concepted before they were modeled. I'm especially happy about the Kalev's sword. So it's like a very Estonian looking sword. So it's not a Viking sword. It's not like a medieval knight sword. It's something in the middle. So I was very satisfied with the look and feel of it, because as Kalev, you need this hero sword to interact with the world. And then we moved on to 3D modeling. Next slide. So we made different versions. There was some back and forth in modeling this. You can see these small creatures, they have a lot of variety. They are different color and they have armor variety. When they come on the bridge and you have to fight them off. Also, there are different versions of Kalev himself. He starts out fully clothed and clean looking, but then during the adventure he gets more smudged and torn and maybe a little wounded. And in the fist fight in the devil, he of course throws off his shirt because why not? And then looting the devil's treasury, he finds an armor. It's supposed to be a little bit foreign looking, so it's not like a very Estonian armor. So you can kind of guess where the old devil has been in the world and stolen all kinds of stuff from mankind. And then Kalev just kind of loots the treasury and gets some good stuff, and then he wears it as part of his, to show that that was part of his journey. So. Next slide. The tricky part, of course, was bringing all those 3D models to life. So we used motion capture, and the rigging that you see here is pretty much built by Ats. So Ats used, as you can see on the bodies of actors, they have, I think, 7 Vive trackers on their feet and waist and arms. And additionally, they have Valve Index controllers and VR headset, which also work as trackers because the computer gets data from that. It wasn't the most reliable solution, but it got the job done. We had several shooting days, like full, very long days of actors doing what they do best, creating these characters. So Silver Kaljula was the actor who played Kalev and also most of the monsters, with some additional work done by Karl-Edgar Tammi, and Hannes Kaljujärv played Old Devil. He was born for that role. And so we had these different kind of actions and interacting with the world. And what I especially liked about this is that when you see movies being done in recent years, there's a lot of green screen work, and oftentimes the actors don't really see the environments where they are because they are later added digitally. We kind of had the opposite, because as the actors were performing inside VR with a VR headset on, they were actually in these environments where the action takes place, which is very, very helpful for an actor to get the feel and the atmosphere. And also it's in real time. Take it back one slide. Yeah, it's in real time also put some environments for. But not only environments, but also the 3D models of the characters. So, like for example, when Hannes Kaljujärv was playing the Old Devil, and there was this scene was all about scale, because Kalevipoeg and the Old Devil were drinking from these cups that made them bigger or smaller. So they had to know how big is the person against them, so that you know that whether you're like this big imposing devil or you're pretty much the same height. So working in real time in Unreal and kind of throwing these sculptures to play against was also really, really helpful for the viewer. And just to give an example about the interactivity, when Silver was playing the part of Kalevipoeg exploring a cave with a torch in his hand, then he actually had a virtual torch in his hand when he was walking around, and he was actually using this torch to illuminate the cave as he was walking. So this is super helpful stuff for an actor to get the role and to get the situation. And next slide. And also there were this facial capture. We used an iPhone-based solution because it's able to communicate with Unreal Engine. So the actors were doing this. So we recorded the body motion and the facial capture separately, and the actors were doing saying these lines, which we also recorded, and doing these facial expressions, like when they were hitting somebody or got hit or were doing some physical strains or so we got all this data. Unfortunately, the quality wasn't the best. Some of this data was not usable, and because of the time and budget constraints of the project, we didn't get all that in, which is a learning experience, I suppose. So next slide. Yeah, so kind of concluding this small talk about learning moments. First would be that scheduling is hard for any kind of game development or game development looking project. If anybody feels like they are really, really good in scheduling game development, then come talk to me. Let's figure something out. But as I understand, it's not only our problem, it's a problem that's in the world. A lot of very big companies are facing also, as you can see from some recent examples like the Cyberpunk fiasco and whatnot, that it's very, very hard to guess how much time something is going to take. It's very hard to schedule. And the recent projects have shown that estimations of developers themselves are very far off. But at the same time, of course, we don't want to discourage developers if they want to do something that they haven't done before. Then we really want to encourage that and get that part of the project. But yeah, scheduling when you have a customer. When the projects are big and there are deadlines, it's hard. One thing that we definitely learned about this is that while the motion capture worked well, that cleaning up those animations is a huge time sink, because the more fidelity you want from these animations, the more detailed they are. It means all the technical errors take a lot of time to fix, and this was just not feasible for that project, because I'd spent probably several times more time on this project than he originally imagined. So we didn't have resources to get somebody else to clean up the animations. So this was a learning experience. Animations, yeah, are hard also. Yeah, that's kind of something that I already mentioned, but this project kind of made me a believer that VR doesn't have to be this low fidelity, cartoony looking. That going for this high fidelity in VR, it really pays off, because it really, really helps with the immersion. If everything is realistic looking and things start working like they are real, then that really, really pulls you into the experience. But at the same time, it means that everything that's not absolutely physically correct is not good, because people don't. In VR, your brain kind of assumes that this is the natural environment, and people don't compare it to the other games. They compare it to real world. So when the more real something looks, the more jarring it feels when something is a little bit off. And lastly, it's not like something we discovered like aha moment, but still something that worth emphasizing, that while of course we designed the experience for the emotion, it's very hard to design around safety and comfort, because in the beginning, when they opened the museum, I think a few index controllers got ruined when they got smashed against the wall. So we made a new version with some tricks built in that the game turns the main direction into a different into this open space direction, so that we know that they're not going to smash a wall, because people get really, really excited and they really want to kick the devil's ass when they have the opportunity. People were using their feet and knees to try to hit the devil, and you can explain that you don't actually have any trackers or controllers in your body, but they're just, I need to smash this guy. So yeah, design around that so that people don't hurt themselves and they have a pleasant experience. Yeah. Next slide. Oh yeah, one back. Yeah, I forgot I have one more point, that the final thought would be that it was a really, really great experience making this Son of Kalev epic VR experience, and I'm really pleased with the result. It took a lot more time and work than we expected, but it's still a very great way to tell a story, and especially just working on it, I found out so much more about the story of Kalev bike. I mean, the kind of narrative that comes from this VR experience is that you start out as this big, strong guy. You want to smash things. You want to kind of prove yourself to be strong. And then later, when the story progresses, you kind of start thinking about if there's more behind that. And that's definitely what the book, The National Epic of Kalev bike, is all about. It's about this mythically strong young guy who has the supernatural abilities. And first it just kind of uses this to do bad things. And then he has a lot of remorse. And in the second half of his life, he wants to help his people, help his nation, build up this nation and protect it. So this kind of idea definitely came true from the VR experience. So this once again proved to me that VR can really be great to understand a piece of literature better, and even just using 10 to 15 minutes to smash things in VR, it can still make you think and give you context about the rest of the literature experience, and maybe encourage young people to read this book. So I'm very, very pleased with the result, and I wish it has had more attention than it has. We plan to make this huge, awesome cinematic trailer for it, but unfortunately, because of other projects, this has kind of shelved. It has been shelved right now. Hopefully we come back to it. But my only suggestion being that go and try out this experience in Kappa when it's opened, or maybe if you're in Tallinn, just come check us out and we can show it to you and talk shop about it. I can tell you more how we made it. So that's it from me. Thank you very much for listening. Here you can see one of our test subjects who was very pleased with the result. I don't think she was even 2 years old, so 1.5-year-old also was having fun with this experience. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them.
How is the museum doing?
How is the museum doing? Well, I'm guessing it's not open right now. Actually, I'm not sure. I live in Tallinn here. The restrictions are pretty bad, but right now they might be open.
They are open.
They are open. Okay. The experience itself was very well received. People liked it a lot. The museum decided that they are going to put a ticket on it, so it has like the separate €5 ticket, I think. And as a part of that, there's also a person helping out people who to put on the headset and choose the language and do stuff like this. So originally it was thought that it's going to be like people put on the headset on their own and take the controllers on their own, but that maybe seemed a little naive in hindsight. Mart, you were saying something?
I just want to say that everybody was muted in the beginning. I'm sure there were 10 people asking questions, so now you're unmuted and you can ask questions.
Okay, so make sure you unmute yourself when you want to ask something.
Hello?
Yes, Martin.
First of all, thank you for the great talk. If I'm ever back in I just want to ask about the motion capture and working with actors. Was it difficult to pretty much imagine it was the first time working with such technology, and was there a learning curve that you had to account for with them?
You mean like technical or just like the directing actors part?
In general, like directing, maybe technical as well, because I don't think we have ever done something like that before.
Yeah. So the question was about motion capture and how difficult was it to work with actors with something like this? Oh, there's actually a microphone. That's a great question. I mean, of course, we had some technical difficulties, but actors. Well, my background is as a director, so I have a lot of background working with actors. But definitely they needed a lot of explaining and encouragement, and when I mean, all of the actors that were part of this project were really wanted to be part of this. It sounded really cool for them. It's kind of, I explained it as, just playing, kind of like acting for an animation and acting for a cartoon in a way, which is not completely true, but it's helpful. But doing a lot of takes, we had to do a lot of technical takes because the tracking sometimes malfunctioned. So that was very time consuming. And also this kind of acting is very physically demanding also. So there was a lot of back and forth. So my suggestion would be, like with all work with actors, whether it's voiceover work or any kind of working with actors, to do preparation work. Write out the characters, find references, and just talk with the actor, practice and talk about the characters, and really try to get the actors into the mood, so that when it's not just like, the actor came, put on a headset and do this and do that, then that's not going to work. So more questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I have this new microphone feature. So quick question. How many hours or days did you put into this project?
And also, what did you expect in the beginning? I would say, add to it.
Yeah, I think the whole project took us about a year. I think Aits was working full time, or like double full time, for some months. But how long? It definitely took us longer than we expected. If the Corona thing wouldn't have happened, we would have been a little bit screwed. But how many hours? It's difficult to calculate. But yeah, the whole period was about 1 year, and I think half a year out of that was this intense working period.
Thanks.
So if
seems like the video should get made, because like I'm from Tartu mainly, so going to the museum would be good. Everybody should go, but it would also be really cool, I think, to know more about it, like publicly, because it seems like an awesome project.
Yeah, we really want to make the cinematic trailer, but yeah, it's even more work after all this crunching and doing extra work. So it needs to wait until some other projects are ready. But we are definitely not forgetting about it. One thing I forgot to mention was that Metsadel made music for the project. They didn't make separate music, but they agreed to let us use their music for this project, which is a match made in heaven, of course, with Marta Laan, who's an actress and a longtime collaborator with Metsadel. She was doing the voiceovers, which also kind of are these verses from the Kalev book, and they sounded really good. So yeah, an awesome project.
Yeah, I do have actually one more question. Is there a way to make this into a standalone product in future? Like, would the museum be open to publishing this as just an awesome experience?
So yeah, of course, this thought has crossed our head that maybe we should just put it up on Steam, and we have discussed it a little bit with the museum. Their first priority, of course, is that since this was paid for with public money, that the goal of the development should be to bring people into this museum so that they want to go to this museum and watch this experience. But in long term, it's not completely kind of like out of the window that maybe we will release it, but this will take still a lot of time and Q&A and maybe like additional half a year's work just to make it work, because right now it's made only for Valve Index headsets, only for Steam VR. And if you distribute it, and we know exactly the specs of the computers that are running it. So to make it more widely available, it needs a lot more tweaking. But technically, we don't rule it out, but it doesn't seem super likely right now.
Cool. Thank you.
If that's it, then thank you very much for listening, and let's hear our next speaker.